The twin suns of Valera 9 were dipping below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of violet and molten gold. The air was thick with anticipation in the central arena, a vast circular platform suspended above the cliffs of the capital city. Hundreds of thousands of Valerans had gathered, their elongated limbs shimmering under the fading light. They had come for one reason: to witness the duel that would decide the fate of their future ruler. I stood at the edge of the arena, my heart hammering like a drum of war. My name is Cale Arden, and until today, I had been an ordinary human scientist stranded on an alien world. My life had been filled with research and exploration, but nothing could have prepared me for this moment. The challenger approached, her steps fluid and precise. She was known across Valera 9 as Cyrenia Val, the undefeated warrior of the North Reaches. Her reputation alone had silenced the arena for months. She had never been bested in combat. Today, she would duel not for glory, but for a husband. I shifted uneasily. I had been chosen, or perhaps fated, to be the prize. I had never met Cyrenia until this morning, and yet, somehow, the council had decreed that the victor of the duel would claim me. The arena's grand gates opened, and Cyrenia's figure emerged, a silhouette against the twin suns. She was taller than most Valerans, her eyes a deep silver that seemed to pierce through the fabric of reality itself. Her armor glinted with a strange iridescent metal, and she carried a weapon unlike anything I had ever seen, a dual-phase glaive that hummed with a low, resonant energy. The murmurs of the crowd were deafening. I tried to ground myself, to remind myself that I was here to survive, not to fight. But the rules of Valera 9 were clear. This was a duel of skill and honor. My life and my future were tied to the outcome. The announcer's voice echoed across the arena. Citizens of Valera 9, witness the duel that will decide the union of Cale Arden and the champion of the North Reaches. Cyrenia's gaze met mine for the first time, and I felt a strange calm wash over me. There was no malice in her eyes, no desire to harm. Instead, I sensed respect, intelligence, and something else, an almost imperceptible curiosity. The duel began with the lowering of the energy barriers, and Cyrenia moved with astonishing speed. Each step she took sent a ripple of energy across the arena. She was like a force of nature, her glaive slicing through the air with deadly precision. I had no weapon, no armor. My only defense was my wits and my agility. She feinted left, then right, and I dodged instinctively. My heart raced as she closed the distance, her movements so fast they seemed almost inhuman. I stumbled backward, my foot catching on the uneven surface of the platform. The crowd gasped, but Cyrenia did not attack. Instead, she paused, tilting her head as if evaluating me. "You have courage," she said, her voice carrying across the arena without a sound system. Somehow, her words reached me directly, inside my mind. I froze.
Telepathy?
I had read about the Valeran psionic network, but I had never experienced it firsthand. I have to survive, I whispered, more to myself than to her. Cyrenia smiled faintly. "Then let us test your worth." She lunged again, and this time, I was ready. I dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding her glaive, and felt a rush of exhilaration. Despite my fear, something in me surged, something primal, human, defiant. Minutes stretched into hours, or perhaps it was only moments. The duel became a dance, a dangerous ballet of energy and instinct. Every time I thought she would strike, she held back. Every time I faltered, she adjusted her approach. There was a rhythm to her attacks, a pattern I slowly began to discern. And then it happened. I saw an opening, a tiny lapse in her defense, no more than a flicker of hesitation. Without thinking, I moved. I grabbed one of the energy emitters along the arena wall and hurled it in her path. The sudden flash of light distracted her for a split second. That was all I needed. Cyrenia's eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw her falter. She recovered quickly, spinning and bringing her glaive down, but the moment had passed. I had not won the duel, but I had survived longer than anyone had expected. The crowd roared, not for me, but for her. And yet, I felt a shift in the energy between us, a connection that transcended the arena. Cyrenia lowered her weapon and approached me. "You have spirit," she said, this time smiling openly. "It is rare even among humans. I accept you, Kale Arden, not as a prize, but as a partner." I blinked. "Partner?" "Yes," she said. "In our culture, the victor of the duel claims the one they choose. But I choose you, not because of victory, but because I see you. And if the council objects, they will not succeed. For the bond we share is stronger than tradition." The elders of Valera 9, seated on their floating thrones above the arena, murmured among themselves. But no one stood to object. Cyrenia's will was absolute, and in their eyes, I saw both respect and awe. I realized then that I had been part of something far greater than a duel. I had been part of a meeting of minds, a connection that transcended species, culture, and expectation. Cyrenia extended her hand, and I took it, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the twin suns. The crowd erupted in cheers, and for the first time, I felt like more than a human stranded on an alien world. I felt like a partner, equal in strength and spirit. In the days that followed, Cyrenia introduced me to the complexities of Valeran society. I learned their language, their customs, and the intricate dance of politics that governed their world. I discovered that her victories in duels were not merely about combat skill, but about strategy, psychology, and understanding the essence of her opponents. She taught me how to fight, not with brute strength, but with insight. I trained tirelessly, knowing that survival on Valera 9 required more than intellect. It required harmony with the world around me. I learned to anticipate energy flows, to sense intention, to move as a single entity with the battlefield itself. And through it all, our bond deepened. We shared stories of Earth and Valera, of galaxies and histories, of fears and dreams. I realized that I was not merely her human consort. I was her companion in thought and action, her equal in every way that mattered. Months later, we returned to the arena, not as opponents, but as partners. A new challenge awaited. The council had decreed a test of unity to see if a human could truly integrate into Valeran leadership. The test was brutal, combining physical prowess, mental acuity, and the subtle art of diplomacy. Cyrenia and I faced the challenge together, moving as one. The crowd watched in stunned silence as we navigated the trials with precision and grace. At every turn, we complemented each other. Where she was swift, I was cunning. Where I hesitated, she acted decisively. When the final trial ended, we stood together, victorious. The elders bowed, the crowd cheered, and for the first time, I understood what it meant to be truly accepted, not just as an outsider, but as a part of something greater. Cyrenia turned to me, her silver eyes gleaming. "Kale Arden, you are not merely my consort. You are my equal, my partner, and my husband. Together, we will lead Valera 9 into a new era." I felt a swell of emotion I had never known. I accept, I said, my voice trembling. Not because I have no choice, but because I want to stand with you. And so, our union was celebrated not as a victory of one over the other, but as the joining of two souls from different worlds. The duel that had begun as a test of combat had become a testament to trust, respect, and the unyielding power of connection. In the years that followed, we ruled together, not with fear or dominance, but with insight and compassion. I introduced Valera 9 to human science, and Cyrenia taught me the secrets of her people's psionic abilities. Together, we bridged worlds, creating alliances that spanned galaxies. But the memory of that first duel never left me. The tension, the fear, the unexpected connection. It was the moment when fate had intervened, when two lives collided and forged something extraordinary. And through it all, I knew one truth. Love and respect were far stronger than tradition, and courage came not from winning, but from choosing to stand beside someone, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Cyrenia and I would face many more challenges, both political and cosmic. But we faced them as one, two beings from different worlds, bound not by conquest, but by choice. And in that choice, we found freedom, partnership, and a love that neither time nor space could diminish. In the end, the duel that had seemed like a test of power was, in truth, a revelation. It revealed that strength alone was meaningless without understanding, that victory was hollow without connection, and that sometimes the greatest triumph is not to win, but to be chosen, and to choose in return. And as the twin suns rose over Valera 9, casting light across the cliffs of our capital, I knew that I had found my place, not as a human visitor, not as a prize, but as Cyrenia's equal, her partner, and her husband. And no one, not the council, not the crowd, not the universe itself, could take that away. The years passed swiftly, and the legacy of our union spread across Valera 9. What had begun as a duel, an arena spectacle meant to determine a husband, had transformed into a partnership that reshaped a world. Cyrenia and I were no longer merely the victor and her prize. We had become symbols of unity between different worlds, a living testament that understanding and respect could transcend even the most rigid traditions. Our reign was not without challenges. Rogue factions sought to undermine our rule, jealous of the bond we shared. Cosmic anomalies threatened the planet, and emissaries from distant star systems demanded diplomacy. Yet, in every crisis, we acted as one. Where I could analyze, strategize, and innovate, Cyrenia could anticipate, inspire, and lead. Together, we became more than rulers. We became a force capable of harmonizing a fractured world. One evening, I stood beside Cyrenia on the highest balcony of our palace, overlooking the twin suns as they dipped below the horizon. The winds carried the scent of the alien forests, the distant cries of native creatures mingling with the hum of the city below. Cyrenia turned to me, her silver eyes reflecting both suns, and smiled. "Do you remember the day of the duel?" she asked softly. I nodded, feeling the memory as vividly as if it were yesterday. I thought I would never survive it. And yet, she said, taking my hand, it was the first moment we truly chose each other. Not as victor and prize, but as partners. That choice is what brought us here. I squeezed her hand, feeling the warmth of a life we had built together. And it's what I will continue to choose every day. The council, once skeptical of a human ruling alongside a Valeran champion, now bowed to our wisdom and the prosperity we brought. The people of Valera 9 revered us not out of fear, but out of respect and love. Markets thrived, technology advanced, and alliances with other worlds flourished. Yet, despite all these achievements, it was the simple moments, the quiet exchanges, the laughter shared during training, the trust we built in the arena, that defined our greatest victories. Years later, as our children ran through the palace gardens, I often thought back to the moment Cyrenia lowered her glaive and chose me. In that instant, A duel of skill had become a lifetime of connection. The arena, the twin suns, and the crowd's roars all faded in comparison to the bond we had forged, one that no obstacle, no faction, no cosmic threat could ever break. I realized then that my role on Valera 9 was never to be a pawn or a prize. It was to be a partner, a husband, and a bridge between worlds. And in Cyrenia's arms, I found not only love, but purpose, courage, and a sense of belonging I had never known on Earth or among the stars. And so, the legend of the duel lived on, not as a story of conquest, but as a tale of choice, unity, and the transformative power of love. The man who had once been a stranger to Valera 9 became a hero not because he fought, but because he dared to stand beside someone extraordinary and accept the bond that destiny had offered. As the twin suns set once more, painting the skies in gold and violet, I knew the greatest adventure had only just begun. For with Cyrenia by my side, every challenge, every unknown, and every galaxy beyond Valera 9 was ours to face together. And in that unity, we had discovered a truth far older and stronger than any tradition. Love and respect could change worlds. The arena may have declared a victor that day, but life had granted us something far greater, a partnership that no duel, no council, and no universe could ever undo.